If a woman were to catcall a guy, what would they say? I am a man and I got catcalled by some girls once, like 5 or so years ago. I was walking from my office to my car. I work at a university and I assume, students drove by the crosswalk I was waiting at and one shouted, "Hey, you look real cute," at me. I told my wife and she thought it was hilarious. I found it charming and inoffensive. But I think that's entirely due to the novelty of the situation. If the general power dynamic between men and women were reversed, I don't think I would have felt that way at all. When I, olive-skinned white man, was in Saga, I got catcalled by several women. A couple just clapped for me. One woman, as I walked by, said, translated, "My life. Don't leave me," and another asked if the shoes I was buying were for my wife or girlfriend. She was fishing. They were for my sister. I have never in my life catcalled a woman because that's just not the type of person I am. I know it is uncomfortable for women, but IT was fucking awesome when IT happened to me. For the record, I was there for work, so I didn't do anything about the catcalling. I took my ego booster and moved on with my day. Not exactly the answer you were looking for, but I'm a man who was catcalled by a girl before ... kinda. I was walking and she was driving a truck in the opposite direction and honked a couple of times to get my attention, and when I looked up I saw her giving me this really smug, flirty grin on her face. No time to say anything, though. I was walking my dog, but she was very much looking at me and not my dog. But maybe she did only do it because my dog is adorable, but I feel like they'd be looking at the dog and not me. To be clear, I have a medium-sized dog, about 20–25 pounds, and there's no way I could mistake it since it's not like she's anywhere near my eye level. Dr. No words, just honking the horn and giving a flirty grin. I know this question was probably made with jokes in mind, but I wanted to share this story. I was catcalled by a chick in Minnesota once as I got off my truck, and I'll never forget what she said. She said, "Damn boy, you gonna give me a ride?" I answered, "You wanna climb in my truck?" And she said, "Yeah, that too." I got red, started crying and ran away. Lol JK, I actually did give her a ride and fucked her a few blocks down. Then my alarm went off and I woke up and realized it was all a dream and I was a lonely loser with no friends and no pros. Damn, I went too far. A compliment followed by asking if they're single. This is simply all you need. Do you have any remote idea of how starved for affection men are in everyday life, outside of family, friends? I remember every compliment like this I was ever given because honestly there weren't that many of them to begin with. Just saying, if you think a guy's cute, do not be afraid to speak up, because yeah, most of us are dense as bricks when it comes to hints. Woman do catcall men. When I was young, my first job was barbacking at the local dive. It was known to have a fair amount of cougars on weekends when the more desperate ones who were no longer attractive and old to prey on young drunk guys, they would follow me around and make weird comments, ask about my dick size, or if I wanted lessons on how to please a woman properly while offering hands-on training. I would politely just do my job. Sometimes they would wait until I had cases of beer in my hand and grab my junk as I tried to wade through the crowd to stalk the bar. Sometimes outside my pants, sometimes not. I'm not saying this was the worst experience ever. Unlike women in the same scenario, I never felt real danger as I was 20 years old, fit 6 foot 200 pounds guy, and they were just sad middle-aged ladies. But yeah, unwanted and downright creepy women exist too, and no one tells them to stop it. The most embarrassing one I've ever gotten was the last time I ever wear sweatpants in public without compression boxers or a jock strap on. I was in the gas station and wearing straight boxers and standing in line. I realized I was the only man in the store, got up to the counter and she said to me, Boy, you can't be walking around with that thing bouncing off your thigh like that and not expect me to wanna bounce on it only to get an MHM from another woman in line and see the young woman blush almost as bad as I was. The story to my ex: she was not amused, and this is the story of how I had my entire underwear drawer changed over to boxer briefs and tighter. When I was 21, I had an older woman say that I reminded her of her grandson. She spent the rest of the night trying to get me to go home with her. I got seriously creeped her out and left. A few weeks later, I was in class with a dude a year younger than me, and he had a picture of his family in his wallet with his grandma front and center. Same woman. Hey, you say this like women don't catcall guys. Well, I got news for you, they do, and it's awesome. When I was framing homes in the late 90s, I was 6 feet 3 inches tan and muscular. In the summer, ladies would drive by shouting things at me. Picked up a few dates. Got a lot of numbers. It was some good times. Now I'm fat old married man. Anyways, they would say the same things men say to women. Damn boy, you looking good. Holy hell, let me touch that. These women were crazy, and if I got a quick look at them, I would have to wave them back, if they looked good, to continue this lovely conversation, because they were always in a car. There was only one weird time we kept seeing the same car driving by. All the guys were joking I had a stalker, or it was one of my baby's mama looking for me. My wife is my only baby's mama. This went on for a week. Friday, they actually parked and watched me work for a few minutes while they ate popsicles. Finally went up to the car and asked if they were lost. They just kept giggling, and finally the driver said no, and drove off. Almost ran over my foot. Never seen them again. Women can be perverted like men, but men like it. At least this man does. Yeah baby, lift those boxes. I bet you're good at lifting something else too. Insert creepy laughter and imitate sex movements. Why don't you come on over and lift me? Huh? You think you're too good for me? Oh okay then, take your cheap ass on then. Those biceps are probably steroid swollen anyway. I would have been doing you a favor, little dick. You couldn't handle this. A student teacher at the school I went to catcalled me as a joke to see my reaction. I took it as a joke too, be it a little embarrassing to see her laugh at me when I turned around to see who was catcalling. This student teacher helped a special needs kid in the class, and was generally liked by my class. She had lunch with us too, so she was like a part of the group. Had it not been for that, I might have seen it as harassment, but then again, I don't think she would have done that if she didn't think I would take it as a joke. When I was in my early 20s, I used to go out downtown every weekend. There were always these two really beautiful women in the same club crawl who would hit on me, and even wanted to take me home with them. Because stuff like this hardly ever happened to me, I was convinced this was a sort of set up, and they were going to rob me the moment they got me alone. I used to jokingly talk like a guy to an older male CO worker. I was single, and I was very vocal to my friend about having a crush on our boss. I was talking to my friend one day and our boss walked by. My friend pointed it out, so I looked as he was walking away and told my friend I'd put a baby in him. Lol. That's totally not how I am, and it was just a silly secret crush, but it was fun to have a friend I could share my weirdness with. I am a man, and one time I was catcalled by a car full of women. As they drove by, the driver honked while one of the passengers called out, "You are very handsome." I was 19 at the time, and it was very good for my self-esteem. Comparatively to how women are catcalled, it was a very positive experience. A receptionist who works for a different company as me in the same building yelled out that I was looking sharp, suit and tie, and that she loved watching me walk away every morning. Found it hilarious, but the woman in my office did not appreciate it. Definitely not appropriate behavior. I have been catcalled by a woman, but it was pretty low-key, just a look at the body on you. She was 60 years old, I guess. I've been groped by younger women. usually drunk. I also had my ass slapped line a football player by a 40-year-old hostess when I was 16 or so. I'm probably too old for either of those to happen now. Still, I've been catcalled and groped by men almost the same amount as women. I'm 6 feet 2 inches 200 pounds though, so I haven't been intimidated. It's just awkward, but it does happen. So I'm gay, and 2 girls literally did this to my boyfriend and me one time when we were in the car with the windows rolled down at a red light. She and her friend was like, "Hey boys, OMG, are you brothers? You're both so hot." My boyfriend and I just looked at each other and proceeded to start making out. Wow, they were stunned after that. I got catcalled working at a supermarket back in the day. I was going through a long hair, ponytail phase, and a cougar, a rather attractive one at that, is standing in the produce section as I go by, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I wanna tug on that tail, yeah, dot." And strangely, unlike in the movies, I panicked and could only muster a smile as I made a hasty retreat away from what could have been awesome, or the fast track to some sweet STD. You're packed and you're stacked, especially in the back, brother. Wanna thank your mother for her butt like that. Thanks, Mom. Can I get some fries with that shake booty? If looks could kill you, would be an Uzi or a shotgun. Bang. What's up with that thing? I wanna know, how does it hang? Straight up. Wait up. Hold up. Mr. Lover Like Prince said you're a sexy Mathawale. I like him real wild. B-boy style by the mile, smooth black skin with the smile bright as the sun. I wanna have some fun, come, and, give me some of that yum chocolate chip, honey dip. Can I get a scoop? I mean, catcalling is just advertising that you want to have sex with someone. A group of women doing this to me, a man who is likely significantly larger than all of them, even if I'm alone, would not intimidate me in the slightest. I would think it was funny and or try to hit on them back. The dynamic is obviously a lot different for a woman walking alone getting catcalled by a group of men, any of whom could likely sexually assault her, and as men are much more statistically likely to do so. It's not really the nature of catcalling that's the issue, it's the nature of sexual power dynamics. I was in a bar one night standing with my back to most of the room, and out of nowhere a girl comes up behind me and sticks her fingers up my butt through my clothes. When I turned around, she just smiled. I'd never seen this girl in my life. This was our introduction. I yelled WTF. She looked disappointed that I wasn't excited about this, then turned and quickly walked off. I had met some pretty forward women, but that was by far the most aggressive situation I encountered. Reminds me of one of the first times my best friend and I went to a bar. We were probably 17 or so, in Denmark. Around 30 years ago, there was this lady barfly there who definitely looked like she'd been in that pub for decades. Nicotine yellow fingers, gravelly voice. She probably also missed a couple of teeth, probably around 50-ish. She looked at my friend and said, "If I were 20 years younger, I'd take you to the toilet and fuck your brains out." I think my friend was traumatized. He was always reluctant to go to bars after that. This literally happened to me when I was still living in the UK. I was walking down the street minding my own business when suddenly from across the road came a female-sounding voice in a very London accent. I was firstly startled by how abrupt the call was, then my state of startlement evolved into confusion and hilarity when the sentence "Oi big boy, let me see your sabloy" was hurled in my direction. Edit. For context, a sabloy is a type of sausage similar to a hot dog, usually sold in fish and chip shops all over the UK. I had a girl come up to me as I was walking to my car after a concert and said her friend thought I was really hot and wanted to know if I was single. I was married. I was a little weirded out since I was never approached like that before. I got in my car and started driving and was having increasingly terrible racing thoughts. I was convinced I was going to be kidnapped and farmed for my organs. One time when my friends and I were 16, I had just learned how to whistle really loudly, like when you put your fingers in your mouth and let out a great cat call. So anyways, we come up to a red light and it's next to a gas station where some young guys were pumping gas. I rolled down my window and gave a cat call whistle, and one of the boys sprints to the car and gets inside. By then the light turned green and my friends and I were all shocked that this stranger got into a car with us. He ended up being cool and just asked us to drop him off at his friend's house, but none of us have ever catcalled anyone ever again. I feel like not enough people are saying this, but I'm so sorry that happened to you. That woman absolutely violated you, and I'm sure that was really scary. That combined with the tendency to downplay sexual assault committed on men, I can't imagine the conflicting feelings. Glad you're able to get out of there. I used to install industrial kitchens in schools, prisons, etc., but usually while they were under construction. I had to replace a big kettle in an active women's prison and can confirm your story. They would line up along the gate in the yard catcalling us, me and the boss, all the way. Hey baby, what can you do with those tools, or put down that toolbox and check out this box. I was 20 and apparently they saw me blush and the whole crowd started celebrating and rushed to follow and embarrass me further. I literally had about 40 women saying the craziest shit ever, trying to embarrass me, about a foot from my face. Once we finally made it through the doors, the guards escorting us busted out laughing and said, "Kid, you got to be hard in here." I said I don't think I could get hard even if I wanted to. I felt like I was just gang raped. They laughed even harder. After replacing the kettle, the manager decided that he wanted one of the hood. Yes, the thing that sucks up the smoke and grease over the kitchen equipment, re-leveled, because one of them had started to sag. The guards totally left us, and I was up on the ladder with one of the trustees holding it. She looked up at me and said, "If I move this ladder, you'll probably fall and die. The way I see it, you owe me something." I immediately said to myself, "Fuck this," and climbed down, grabbed my tools, grabbed the boss, and we left. Sorry I was so long-winded, but I never had a chance to tell that story until now. I was a deputy in a county jail for a bit. We had a women's wing that I tended to avoid. The inmates tended to respect the uniform, but would sometimes catcall or drew lots of civilians. On my last day, I had turned my uniform in, so I was wearing slacks and a polo. I had to bring some mail to the women's wing, and when I walked it was like a scene from a western where the gunslinger walks into the saloon, and everyone turns and looks. The piano player stops playing, everyone stops. You could have heard a pin drop. A 400-pound woman eventually broke the silence by saying, "He too skinny for me." Someone yelled in response, "Everyone's too skinny for you," and the cell block descended back into chaos. So I did some work years ago in the women's wing of the local jail. I have never felt more like a piece of meat than when I did that job. Basically almost all of the catcalls, in some variation, that have been posted here already. Also, "Hey baby, just stick it through the bars and I will do the rest." That was a wild week. Strangely enough, I had a buddy in one of the schools the military sent me to that used this exact tactic. Mind you, he had a pretty impressive hog, especially considering the fact that he was like 5'9". He hooked up with more girls than any of us in that class, including all but one of our female classmates as well as a couple of the instructors. Poor guy ended up getting booted from the military after being arrested in Greece for running down the street naked. Some heroes don't wear capes, or anything at all for that matter. This and ask for forgiveness not permission get you a long way at a lot of jobs. Well really, just don't ask for that either. Just do what you want and be ready to explain why you decided it was the best course of action. Worked out for me a bunch of times, but I cut meat, not like design pacemakers or something. Oh, that takes me back to junior high. I made one comment about John Holmes being a scrawny heroin addict. and suddenly a bunch of girls think I'm bragging, so they ask guys to check me out in the locker room, but I was kinda repressed, and never changed in front of anyone else, so when it couldn't be verified, that meant in the minds of these young women that it must be true. Didn't get me any dates, though.